This is Run the Day with Rafe
and Tay.
We're runners, we're married, and now we've got a podcast. Why? Because we love running so much that we want to share it with you, our friends.
Today's topic, you were an athlete, now you're not, and there's a void to fill. Today we're going to talk about our own experience, 6 or 7 years out of college, of how we've had dealt with this transition and how it might help you.
Whether, as you mentioned, whether it's coming out of high school or college, no one writes a script or a game plan of how you transition in your life and go from doing an activity that was so much of your focus day in and day out to just losing it all of a sudden and not having it. And I think it's a lot more difficult than people realize. And I'm glad we're talking about this subject matter because I think we could speak from experience of our own difficulties. And I don't even think we realized when we were graduating college after running track and field for 4 years that it would be that difficult.
Right. I think it has both parts of it, of the activity itself and, ending at a collegiate level where you have competitions and you have a team and you have this routine all structured for you. And then we did not go on to be professionals or anything even close to that. And most college or high school athletes do not get to that point. It's very rare, but that's where it's hard, where your sport just kind of comes to an end. So today we're going to talk about how specifically running is a great way to continue that void, or how to fill that void. You can use running to help fill that void, or a few other ideas that might help.
I think, why don't we start with explaining why I think the transition is so difficult?
Yes.
And I, want to know your perspective, but it's addicting being an athlete. There's certain parts to the sport that I don't think you realize in the moment that become so much rooted into your identity and who you are as a person.
Yes.
I think some of the main things are you have a purpose day after day of what you're working towards. That's one part. And then the second part, I think, is having a team or some type of camaraderie with other people.
The environment
of it. So for someone that's doing that for however length of time, and then that just gets cut off, like if you were doing soccer and you graduated, now how do you fill that? Yeah.
Transition into your everyday life. Yeah, it kind of feels like a little bit of a shock. So to start, I think we take a step back and think about what exactly is the void they're trying to fill? Is it, you liked being on a team, you liked having people around you, you liked being in that environment every day, like an athletic environment? Or is it something within yourself that you needed to have a purpose and discipline and a routine, something to work towards every day? So there's all different voids that go with it. And you just have to kind of figure out, is it all of it? Is it pieces of it? And I think that we've experienced over these past, few years, exactly certain ways to fill it. So to start going back to when we graduated, Rafe, like when did you realize, what was your transition like once you graduated? Because ours was very different.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, your athletic career ended with an injury, so that was out of your control. Mine ended naturally with, ending with the, your end of the season, your championship season. I was lucky enough to have that, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is over. For you, it ended before that. So two different perspectives on the transition. And just what was your experience like? And then we can kind of dive into how we fill that void and how these ideas might help you.
Yeah, I think you said it. You ended on a high, and I think I ended on a low. Same activity, but different spectrums of our emotions at the time. When it ended, so I got injured, I don't know, probably like 6 months prior to maybe when your guys' season ended. So truthfully, I was very happy for it to be done. I was happy for you guys to be done as well, because selfishly, I was really bummed out to watch. Like, I loved all my friends and you competing, but it did bring me a level of sadness of seeing everyone do something that I really wanted to do. So I was happy when it ended because I felt like I was finally able to put it behind me and move on and transition to the next part of my life. And naturally, post-college, that's your career, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, now I get to work in corporate America and work my way up the ladder and XYZ. And I don't know if it truly hit me, maybe till like a year later, that we had some like corporate, like big retreat or like meeting that they held, and they brought someone in, and I can't remember who he is, but he was like a former, is he something military related?
Yes, and he was a public speaker, so he was giving advice, and you could raise your hand and ask some questions. So you asked a question.
Yeah, I asked him a question of like how, because I think he was an athlete or at some point of his life, and he was talking, to us about working in a corporate environment. So I said to him, I raised my hand and asked him, I was like, how do you fill that void coming from being an athlete to working in corporate America or, any job really, where you don't have that like passion and competitiveness? It can't come out in the workplace as it did in your sports. Like I can't be like, oh, I'm going to send more emails than Eric today. Like it doesn't feel the same. So I asked him what was an outlet to obtain that. And truthfully, which I respect, he didn't really have an answer to, say how to fill it. It just kind of goes. And I don't agree with that because I think we found an outlet. But yeah, that was kind of when I realized that I was like, damn, I need to fill this purpose. And
I think that he was looking at it, the public speaker. I think when he answered a question, he was answering it from a very physical standpoint.
Yeah.
And that's what I think at the time, because you were, more recently out of college, as you were trying to figure out like this like athletic, physical like competitiveness that you had in yourself. Like, how can I keep using that? Because there's definitely skills once you graduate, being like an athlete, whether high school or college, that you carry on with the rest of your life. You have discipline. You do have a competitive edge to yourself that will help you in the workplace. And that's why a lot of companies or, employers like hiring athletes, because they have a good mentality, they have good discipline, and all of those skills will carry with you into the workplace because that's just who you are as an athlete. And just because you didn't play in college or high school, like you still are an athlete.
I think that just one more thing to add on to it, because I think it's going to be different than your perspective, is that I left the sport wanting more, but I physically could not do it. So the void was large for me because I never got to finally like get closure and like with that desire to push myself and become better. It just got like, oh, you're done doing that.
Yes.
So, but I'd like to hear from your perspective, and I don't think we've ever had this conversation truthfully, so it is kind of interesting, is that what did your life look like? How did you feel going from being, a college athlete? And, again, I know we're not professional by any means, but I think we should be proud of ourselves. So, and I see you getting emotional, and I know this topic means a lot to you, but how do you feel coming from, in high school, you found the sport after really just doing dance for many years, right? You ended up falling in love with it and being really like shocked and surprised by the fact that people cheer for you and having teammates. You walked on to a Division I program. You worked hard every single day, with a lot of obstacles that we had throughout it. You ended up earning scholarship. You ended up being a captain. You ended up being, a medalist in individual events. You ended up winning. How many rings do you have? I have 0 rings. You have 3? Well, they're like double rings. How many championships did you guys win? 6?
Well, if there's some on the track and field team, so we had, we won every season except freshman year. We did not win.
Like indoor, outdoors? You guys won 7?
Yes, and our cross country team, which shout out to them because they have to work, for 3 seasons. I only worked for 2. They helped us get the, what was it called? The diamond. The triple crown.
She's got this crazy ring.
We have quite a few triple.
Nothing.
So I think I have 3.
I have no medal. I have no rings.
So I think we have 3 triple crowns and then an indoor and outdoor ring.
So anyway, let's get to the point, is that I bring all that up because that's a big storyline, and that's something that you worked hard and was very much a part of your identity, and then it ends, and you transition into corporate America, and I think it wasn't always easy for you, but I don't want to speak for you, so you tell us, what was that like?
Well, I didn't expect to feel so like emotional talking about this.
It's real.
I did not expect to feel this way at all with with you saying all that, which first, thanks, because you also had an amazing career, very similar to mine. But I did not expect to feel this way. Yeah, I think I can remember the moment of, I was actually at the diner in our town with my mom, and she kind of suggested the idea that I literally can't believe I'm getting emotional.
Why? It makes sense.
Well, she suggested the idea that maybe I look into becoming like a personal trainer. And that helped me a lot.
And how much was this after college?
It was very recent.
Yeah.
After college.
So you felt it pretty, maybe not.
Yes. So like right after we graduated, I obviously you're on the high of like graduating and you feel like excited about everything and you had like a great career and you look back.
So why did your mom suggesting you pursuing being a personal trainer, why did that trigger something in you?
I think because there was just something that was missing in my life.
Yeah. Which was?
I think it was just that feeling of like being on a team, working hard towards something every day.
Yeah.
And having like a purpose.
Yeah.
That you like aligned with. And when I graduated, I wasn't doing something I was passionate about. So not having like a passion felt like it was not a good feeling.
So did you pursue personal training because there was the physical aspect to it of training, or is it because you got to feel maybe as you did as a captain of like helping other people, or what are the correlations behind being an athlete and being a personal trainer?
Yeah, so I think that when you are learning about the science behind what you were doing over these years, we studied marketing in college, so I didn't have the background of exercise science or anything like that. So to learn about these like energy systems in our body and our muscles and how we were actually using them, I found it so interesting, and it kind of allowed me to dive into that and be passionate about it. So from that sense, it was really cool to be passionate about learning, but something you were doing that you love so much.
Yep.
The other side of it was like the emotional side of like the being with other people who also want to be better, being with other people that also are prioritizing their health and fitness and wellness, or just trying to be better. Because when you're on a team, whether you're a captain or just a teammate, it's that feeling of just being with other people that are working towards their best.
Yep.
Is so inspiring. So I love just being able to work with other people and be with other people who all have the same mentality, and maybe you can kind of inspire other people to have it too.
Well, yes or no, or I guess maybe, did it fill the void?
Yeah, I think it did. In a way, for sure, for some time.
Yeah.
I got certified a few years later. I then started working with athletes specifically, young athletes, middle school, some collegiate, and at Blue Streak Sports Training, which was awesome in Stamford, Connecticut.
Shout out.
And that was amazing. I feel like that really helped fill up that piece of my heart.
Yeah.
Just being with athletes who are working towards it, that really helped.
Because you see yourself in them.
Yeah, probably. And I wish I had someone like that. I mean, that's amazing to have these sessions with people and teach you exactly what you should be doing at a young age. We started our sport so late in our high school career that it's just awesome to see it from the ground up and instill those values. So in that sense, yes, it did help fill that piece in my heart. But more recently, again, like 3 years after I was doing that, like currently, I think it's been even more filled.
So that's 6 years.
Yeah, it's been like 6 years of experience. I think the most recently, within the past maybe like 2 years or so, it's really been, I guess, filled maybe with our running experience now. And it's because of signing up for races and diving into the whole like racing, like road racing, track racing. I mean,
a couple of years after graduating, being in corporate America, I naturally thought maybe a way to fill the void was by doing like intramurals or like corporate leagues,
which can help with the team environment,
which I think helped a little bit.
Get you closer with the people you work with, because when you transition from college or high school, you're with these people every day, and you're not just in like your classes with them, you're like in a personal level. And then you go to your job, and maybe you're like, what do we do besides work? Like, do we do anything together? So I think intramurals helps from like a social perspective a lot.
I think it can. I think it's dependent on who you are and how you were as an athlete, because the part that was missing to me is that it just wasn't as serious. And I think that was missing to me, that doing intramurals is kind of like always this weird blend of like, am I trying really hard for this, or is this just fun? Because sometimes I'm not always just competing for fun, which is my own toxic trait. But the main part that I think, looking back, didn't work is that, yes, we play once a week, we play a game, but like I want something and I need something that it's every single day. How do I get a little bit better at it? And that's what I think you have as an athlete. Again, whether high school or college, you have practice, you finish practice, you're working on your nutrition, you have an event or a race or a game that you play, like a weekly or bi-weekly. And you have seasons. Like, it's just very structured, and there's purpose every single day.
There's a plan to everything that you're doing.
Yeah. So you could wake up and know that, part of your day is getting better at doing X sport. Intramurals, unless your intramural league is crazy or something.
Which there are some.
I guess there are, but like, are you really? Can you imagine, at Vineyard Vines, if I was just like, guys, I've been practicing every single day for the basketball league, and then we go play on Thursday night and lose by 40 points. It's like, what am I doing? So, I mean, I think maybe it could be helpful to get some of that competitive energy out. It was nice to play and have that sense of like aggression again and get that out physically. Do I think it's sustainable and fills you completely? Absolutely not.
Right. So it helps with your social sense of being with other people, being on a team, doing something outside of your day job. It gives you something to do.
Yeah.
And it can be fun, and it doesn't always have to be the sport that you were doing in high school or college, right? You could sign up and do volleyball. You could do basketball. There's a lot of different options. But for you specifically, and maybe a lot of people feel this way too, it doesn't fill that little void that you have of wanting to be better every single day and purposeful.
No, it doesn't. And I like that. I didn't even see that you wrote this down here, but I'm really reflecting and looking back years after college, is that it was a constant pursuit to fill this void that I never really realized we were doing. Again, I just talked about, we tried intramurals, right? You try to invest it into your corporate day job. And then I saw in here, which I didn't even realize we did, we tried joining CrossFit. And doing that for a little bit. And to speak quickly on that end, I think CrossFit just personally wasn't for us, but I totally can see why people are so committed to that sport, because it is very reminiscent of being an athlete. The community is really strong. There is like, a plan, a structure to do things. There are competitions. So I can completely see why CrossFit is and was as popular.
There's also a lot of different types of gyms. Like F45 is really popular for team training. So they do different phases of different workouts, and you guys, it's very community based. You go it's like CrossFit. It's very community based. And I think if you're looking for that, that is a perfect outlet, a perfect way to fill that void. Again, if it's not filling that void, or maybe it does temporarily, there's other options. But that's a good idea to engage and look into. So work intramurals, your workplace might have some intramural sports, or you could try to start it. 2, your city or your town might offer intramurals. In the Boston area, there's like the Volo Club.
I think that's a nation.
It might be a nation. Yeah, I think it is.
I think certain cities have it.
So definitely look into that. And then gyms, CrossFit, F45, those community-based workouts. Those are awesome. Those are great suggestions. And we've tried a lot of them. Almost all of them.
And then, so taking it to where we want to go, I think all of those mentions that you just said filled, for myself, 30% of the void that I had.
Or during that time. Because again, we're talking about 6 or 7 years after graduating. We've tried all these different things.
Well, I can, sit here and speak today that the void is filled for me.
Yes, me too. The void has been filled.
The void has been filled. So let's talk about it. What we filled our void with was running. Let's talk about why running is such a great activity, regardless of what your background or history is with running. So this is why running is a great sport to fill that athletic void. Number one, we talked about it before, but you get a sport, something to do that you work towards being better at every single day.
Yeah, it's very individual.
It's very individual. I think the progression of being a runner and becoming faster or
conquering new distances
is a never-ending target, which I think is partially frustrating for some people, but is the addictive nature that we get doing the sport.
Yeah, for sure. And you're always able to chase something new, a new distance, a new time.
Yep.
There's a lot that can go into it. And I don't know if we want to start off by going into this, but there is such a variety beyond time and distance to chase because there's different platforms to do it, all within the sport of running. So you could be doing it on a track. You could be doing it on a road. You could be traveling. There's
a trail.
On a trail. There's the marathon world majors. So you could travel around the world and make it your bucket list to run all of them. You could travel to different states and run a 5K in different states. And the coolest thing that we've recently experienced is that you could still run on a track. Like there's adult track meets in different cities.
There's a lot of different outlets.
Yeah.
Well, I think in comparison that if we took a sport like basketball, right? Say you played basketball in school and now you're post your athletic career and you want to pick back up basketball, like, you find a pickup game, you find an intramural league, like, do you practice with those people? Probably not. So
Maybe.
I think running is the only sport that really comes to my mind that it's something you could work towards day in and day out. It's something where you could have teammates again. But it's also something that's different in the sense that if you're not accustomed to it, I think you'll learn to be addicted to it, is that your competitor is yourself. So there's always competition because you are your own competition. And I've always loved that about running because, again, relating it to other sports, I've played other sports growing up that you don't feel that same fight of you versus you. It's not like that. It's always you versus someone else. And I love that aspect of it, but there's something more addicting about beating yourself over someone else.
Right. And, opposite from you, I never played other sports. Like you said, I did dance and then I did track. So yes, you are on a team when you're on the track and field team. And in dance, yes, you are with a team, but they're both very individual sports that you work towards for yourself.
Yeah.
So maybe like for you, when you were saying that, after college, you were chasing this purpose for individual purpose, not just the team atmosphere that Intramurals gave you, but running post college with all these different options. That's what helps fill the void for you.
I think typically I'm a person who can get caught up on saying the other side of this narrative, but this is why I like that this sport is so metric based and number based sometimes, is because it allows you to see progression so easily. And again, it allows you to compete against yourself day in and day out of like, how do my paces get faster? How does my heart rate get lower? How do my distances get longer?
It's something to invest in yourself and get passionate about.
Yeah.
Which is kind of relating back to when I got my personal training certificate, something to get passionate about and learn about, and you can implement it. With running, you can do that. You can dive into different nutrition plans. You can dive into different training plans. There's so many options. There's different races to sign up for, local 5Ks, a track meet for adults. Like, we had no idea that you could do that after college.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest shock and the coolest thing that we experienced. And then, all different types of marathons all over the world. There's so many different things you could do.
Yeah. And I'm glad we're talking about this subject matter because in my experience, I haven't seen anyone else discuss it, that the majority of runners we're now lucky enough to run with, we're not track and field athletes.
Yes,
we're not
that's such a
running on
great
a
point to
program.
make.
They were athletes in other sports.
Yes, I love that.
And they have found this sport as something to finally like fill that void again. And I don't even think people doing it really realize that that's one of the reasons they get addicted to it. And there's a reason why. We're not just biased in saying that. People are freaking addicted to this sport.
Yes.
And that's why this running community is insane.
Yeah. And I think that when we're speaking about the other people that we're running with, we're speaking about like run club that we're a part of, which a lot of towns, a lot of cities, they have run clubs, whether you can pay for them or they're for free. Usually a lot of them are free. They do group runs, but that's what we're talking about, is that the people that are part of these running clubs or running groups and you go for these long runs together, they all were not like track and field athletes. A lot of people did different sports or it's their first time running ever.
Yep.
But we're talking specifically that running can fill that void, whether that's what the sport you did in your past or not.
Yeah.
It's a great option. And people are addicted to it for a reason.
For sure. And, you know, to bring it to us is, you know, the hats we're wearing, shout out Heartbreak, is this awesome running community and group that has been built in the Boston area. And it's so diverse from every single perspective. But the one thing that we all hold in common is this joy of just doing it together, you know, like of having, you know, training with one another, you know, a couple times or 3 times a week. And also like having a competition that's hosted on behalf of the club itself or other races we do within the community, is that I just think it's amazing to hear other people who were once strangers cheering for you.
Yes.
And like, again, what other sport do you get that? If you do intramural soccer, no one in the public's attending that game and cheering me on if I score a goal. But when I'm running a road race, when I'm running at a track meet, you have all these people who are just cheering for you and screaming. And it's like the coolest thing to just feel supported.
Yeah, to feel like you're back onto a team again.
Team.
So if you're looking for that, you could find that in intramurals, any kind of sport. But with running specifically, it welcomes people with all different backgrounds that are trying this to get better every single day.
Yeah.
I mean, to show up on 6:30 a.m. on a Tuesday, and we have so many people here all just running a track workout. I mean, how cool is that?
And it's not because we love... I don't think it's because everyone there loves the activity of running. It's because they love the feeling that it gives them. Yes,
the feeling of getting better every day.
Getting better
and putting yourself up against a challenge to achieve something that you never thought you could.
Yeah.
So that's why running is like the best way to fill the void. It gives you, there's so many different ways to do it. Set yourself up to challenges. You can do different types of races.
Yeah.
Meet different types of people, be on a team environment.
You know, to bring it full circle and cap it, is that we talked about, which I think we agree on.
Yeah.
That the addictive part of being an athlete, whenever you were an athlete, is that there's passion in your progress and that you're a part of a family. And running now, getting back into the sport, we are passionate about our progress and we feel like we're a part of a family.
Yes.
And like, that's something that we talk about, this 6-year journey post-college. Every other activity was missing one or the other.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, even when we say that we're part of a family, we're part of a team, like a club, a running group, if you're not part of that, you don't have that in your area, there's still just a community of runners that, you know, virtually on social media. I mean, Strava, going to a road race, there's all those people. Like, that's the community that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Whether it's an actual club that you signed up for or you run on your long runs with on Saturday, it's everyone that runs.
We've spoke about this in a previous episode, so we don't have to harp too much on it. But again, learning from our journey, immerse yourself in the culture and community as quickly as you can, because it took us a long time to. We were running in a silo by ourselves, not really training for something. Occasionally would pop up at a random race, leave right after. Like, really immerse yourself in it, and you're going to fall in love with it when you do that.
Yes. Love that.
Hit us with that Tay tip.
Okay. I'm going to bring up my Tay tip.
Got it.
Okay, sorry.
Hit the Tay tip.
Okay, time for my Tay tip. So my Tay tip is relevant to this topic.
Nice. That's good. My Tay tip is a tip that I am going to provide.
So today's Tay tip is about how to find your passion or your void. And yes, we said that it could be running. That's what this whole episode is about. But something to help you if you feel like you just are unclear about it is to go back to the places where you were passionate. So for us, if we were just feeling not passionate about running or we felt something was missing, go to the track. Go with the people that you were running or you were working with at that time. What were you doing during that time of passion? Were you waking up early and you had breakfast with a friend every morning? Can you start doing that again? Pick up those key things that you were doing in your past and just replicate them again. What can you do? Can you go back to the track that you ran on? Can you go to that trail that you loved and you found it was peaceful? Can you go back to just stop by your high school or go through photos and just think, what was I doing? Well, I was going to bed really early and waking up early. I was spending a lot of time with my friends. I was connecting a lot with my family. I was eating really healthy, or I was reading a lot. Like, try to go back and revisit that, and that can help bring out what's missing in your life right now. So that's my Tay tip.
Well, my Rafe's rant, unlike your Tay tip, has nothing to do with the subject matter.
Okay. That's
Which
okay.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
No, it's fine.
Here's my rant, Tay. I think it's going to be universal. I hope, but I think it might be personal to me, but I hope someone else relates. I really wish there was just a script or a pre-established way that you greet other people.
Oh.
It gives me a lot of anxiety.
Oh.
Because I don't know how. I'm so bad at greeting people. I don't know what to do. It's like, do we dap each other up? Do we fist bump? Do we high five? Do we hug? Do we Christian side hug? Do we dap up then hug?
That's stressful.
I think every time I approach someone, I'm like, oh my God, which one do I do? And then, sometimes it's wrong. And there's nothing worse than when it feels like eternity of when you and the other person do a completely different gesture. It's just so awkward for someone to watch. Like when someone's like, yo, and they're like fist bumping or hugging.
I have a Tay tip for you.
On this?
Yes.
Yeah,
to help you.
I think I know what you're going to say.
It's related to the idea that my dad taught me is when you're driving and two people both approach the stop signs at the same time, who goes first?
Yeah.
Take control of the situation.
Just pick one.
So my dad would say is pull up and just let the other person go. Wave your hand and let them go. You take control of the situation. So when you and this person are approaching each other, you take the lead. Whatever you feel like doing, you feel like hugging or high-fiving or whatever you want to do,
so
take the lead.
Okay.
Go right away. You take the lead and you do it.
I like that advice. So what's the Tay tip for when I've already pre-established this like weird routine with certain people that I feel like we've gotten accustomed to doing like a certain thing?
Okay, so then I think you need to address it. And
you'd be like, yo, dude, from now on out,
let's do a handshake.
Fist bumping.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a colon.
Let's move on to a question.
Thank you so much for submitting questions. If you have any, please submit them to us. The link will be in our bio, our episode description. Any question.
The question that I liked today, that I wanted to pull out for us, says, how long in advance to sign up for a race?
Ooh, I like that.
It's a good question.
I mean, I'm sure you'll have the same thought back. I mean, what is the race? Yeah, so that's the question. So to provide some context.
What is your intention for the race? Is it for completion or is it for time? What is the race itself? And what is your current fitness level? I would use 100%. All those three things as factors. But as your baseline, I mean, you could go and search anywhere. Runner's World, Garmin probably has something. They'll give you baseline estimates of how long you should take. I wouldn't like sign up for a marathon next week unless you're like a YouTube creator that's trying to make some engaging video.
Yeah, but that's just going to lead into injury.
Yeah, no.
So you definitely don't want to do that. Yeah, so our advice is all these questions answering back. But generally, a good little tip is you could find running plans online and see what the timeline is. Very personal, and I'm sorry that we don't have an answer. I wish everything was a recipe.
There isn't an answer to that.
I wish there was a simple answer, but there's not.
But that would be irresponsible to give a simple answer because it is so specific to the person.
Yes, and if you ramp up too much mileage in a short amount of time, you're going to get injured. It's just, there's not an exact answer.
So for the shout-outs,
thanks for submitting shout-outs.
I just want to say, y'all need to do better and submit more shout-outs.
And the key about our shout-outs is that if you are listening to our podcast and you thought of someone when you were listening, you thought that, hey, my friend just signed up for a race, or my friend's just doing a really great job of just trying to exercise every day, or you just want to cheer someone on, then submit it on the podcast and we'll read it out loud. So the next time your friend or family member listens, they'll hear it and it might make their day.
So our shout out was submitted by me.
What? Okay.
I wanted to give a shout out to Tay.
Oh.
Who signed up for the Hartford Half Marathon in October.
Rafe, thank you.
Yeah, I'm proud of you for doing that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Congrats. You're going to crush it.
Thank you, Rafe.
Yeah.
I have a shout out. I'm going to shout out Rafe.
Really?
He signed up for the Hartford Half Marathon in October as well.
You're doing it too?
Yes.
Whoa. Should hang out or like carpool.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. All right, Squadron. As always, guys, we believe in you.
We believe in you.
Tay, take it away.
Go run the day. Don't let the day run you.
Boss. It is downpouring.